Staying with politics, more than 600 delegates are expected to vote for new national leaders at the NFP's Elective Conference in Durban. The event, organized by a faction of the party, was delayed for hours yesterday for registration, and disagreement over the leadership continues to threaten the party's participation in next year's general elections. Leaders of an opposing faction, including Canaan Mdletshe, who maintains he's the NFP's Secretary General, aren't part of the Durban conference. Now, Mdletshe says the party's National Executive Committee doesn't recognize the conference. The current NEC has an appeal pending against a KwaZulu-Natal High Court order which set aside the 2019 Elective Conference. All right, so let's stay with this particular story now and speak to Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, who is the NMU Centre for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy, who joins us live now. Prof, there's been so much happening in the political space. One doesn't even know where to begin. But let's start with the NFP, because yesterday we were in conversation with one, the SG of the party, saying that he still remains the Secretary General. At the same time, you are seeing, some of the members, for example, who have been suspended by him, saying that they are holding this conference to try and deal with these particular squabbles. But in your view, what's going on there?
Mangete, good evening to you, good evening to your viewers, and happy Reconciliation Day.
Thank you, same to you.
I like your statement. Yeah, thank you. I like your statement that there is a lot happening. In fact, I think you guys in the media should, in fact, expect an invoice from the politicians. They've made you annual salaries. Yeah, but on a serious note, what is happening to the NFP is in fact concerning, especially to those of us who have been watching South African politics with a keen interest, and then, of course, investing our time and effort in trying to assist different political parties in order to ensure that there is consolidation of our democracy. As academics, we don't necessarily favor one party at the expense of the other. Although, of course, on voting day, we do have our own preferences. But in the main, we want to see all political parties surviving and want to see the leadership of those political parties being stable. What is happening in the NFP is a direct opposite. They had a clear constitution which spelled out that in the absence of the president of the party, the deputy president of the party takes the road and then moves forward. Unfortunately, this did not happen. You recall what happened to then Mr. Kekana, who was the deputy at the time. And then since then, there have been three splinter political parties from the NFP. It's a small party, it's a new party, but already it's three splinter parties. One of which is the APC of Mr. Pietermaritzburg, who has been a deputy mayor of eThekwini. And I understand that he now has problems in his own party. I don't know what's going to happen there. Then, of course, we had Bheki Mngomezulu saying that, no, this national party is not the one that I know. And then he formed his African People's Movement. And then he said, this is his party. And then, of course, as if that was not enough, he decided that, okay, let me form my own party. And then he called it National People's Front. So the reality, therefore, is that what led to the NFP being suspended by the IEC, and correctly so, is because there was no clear leadership. So you need one president. You cannot have two presidents for the same organization. So that is the reason why then the IEC was obligated to then suspend the NFP. They say they are correcting the situation, but from where I'm standing, the situation is getting out of hand. Because even if this particular conference comes up with a new leadership, there will be a challenge on that, and then the status quo will remain.
So it sounds like then they may not be able to avert a crisis like we've seen before, where they were not able to register because of one issue or another within the party itself, which also signaled disunity. Now here they are again. So listening to what you're saying, they may not avert this crisis and come March register with the IEC possibly?
No, absolutely. Remember that as far as the status quo remains, Mr. Mavunda remains the deputy president of the party, but there is no president of the party. And we know that there are two factions. As Canaan Mdletshe was saying, that they are not aware that there is a conference happening, at least formally. they've seen it in the media like you and I, but then they are saying that they've not sanctioned this particular conference. So which means, therefore, that whatever results of the conference that will come up, they will not embrace them. And then, of course, that might lead to litigation, in which case then it would mean that it is race against time for the NFP, because on the one hand, it needs to correct the situation with the IEC, and the IEC will say, you have not rectified anything, you now claim to have a new leadership, and the old leadership still has issues with that. So
Sure.
basically, we're back to square one, where we don't know who the leaders of the party are, and therefore this suspension remains.
What-
And then if that happens, then it means the party will not contest the election.
What does that say then to the voters, to their voters?
No, it's a disservice to the voters, because there are people who still believe that the NFP stands a chance to regroup, which is possible. Other parties have done that. We have seen that in the IFP. The IFP was at its lowest key at some point, but then it picked itself up, and then now it is doing fairly well. And in fact, if the leadership of the IFP was united, they stood a chance to give the ANC a good run for its money in 2024. Unfortunately, they also have their own issues to deal with. But the reality of the matter is, the NFP has not learned from its past experiences, and it is repeating the same mistakes. And I don't think it's good for the voters, because they give it a chance, and then they basically blunder that opportunity to regroup and then be a force to be reckoned with, as it happened when the party was first established by the late Kamakwaza Msebi. May her soul rest in peace. And I feel sorry for her.
And it's such a, especially when you think about that moment when she formed the party and how it was, touted as one of those that would be an alternative. And some were saying that it could be a party where they would be able to, see the future through their eyes. But one wonders then what happens now. But there's something else, Prof, that I'd like to, just pick your brain on before we even run out of time. Former President Jacob Zuma today, his decision not to vote for the ANC, not to campaign for the ANC, but he's staying within the party. Is this something that you saw coming?
No, I knew that something was going to happen, but I didn't know it was this one. But the way he presented it, you have a situation whereby people have dual membership. You are a member of the SACP and you are a member of the ANC. Then the question is, which political organization are you answerable to? In the event that you are recalled, are you being recalled by the SACP or are being recalled by the ANC? That is the question. And then that is just to give the context. In this case, we now have Umkhonto weSizwe as a political party, similarly as you have the SACP as a political party. Then is it possible then to have dual membership, be a member of the ANC on the one hand, and be a member of Umkhonto weSizwe on the other? That is one thing that the ANC will have to deal with. And then, of course, when Umkhonto weSizwe unpacks its agenda in 2024, that is when things will become clearer. At the moment, I think that voters will just say, okay, those who are not happy with the ANC, let's vote for Umkhonto weSizwe, and still I think that we are not voting for the opposition. So it will be a very interesting moment, but we'll wait and see how Umkhonto weSizwe is going to present itself and unpack its programs in 2024, and most importantly, how the ANC is going to act on this. Are they going to show leadership prowess, or are they going to get fixated in factional politics and focus on those as opposed to rescuing the ANC? So we'll wait and see.
And it's interesting because you think about the ANC and they say they've noted it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens then, because when you look at their constitution, it also talks about acts of misconduct and also speaks to, this including joining or supporting political organizations other than the ANC. But then I wonder, speaking about this MK party, the Secretary General of the ANC spoke about this party and said that they're going to be challenging this decision because Umkhonto weSizwe belongs to the ANC, as they were saying, as the name. It takes us back to the past, though, when the former president was still, within the ANC, happy within the party. Congress of the People was then being formed. There were issues with that particular name, which then it ended up in the courts. And fast forward, this is now happening with the name again similar. So what are we to read into all of this?
South African politics is in a mess. That is the best way to put it. Because our politicians, some of them don't even think before they make statements. Like, for example, the juxtapositioning of COPE and then now MK is a correct one. Because COPE, when Moswali Court and Bazima formed COPE, people were saying that we cannot form COPE because the Congress of the People is part of the history of the ANC. But then eventually they won the day. So then if they won the day, the question would be, on which grounds would Umkhonto weSizwe therefore not win the day as well? Because a precedent has already been set. They are saying they are forming Umkhonto weSizwe as a political party in the same manner that Mbazima Shilowa and of course Moswali Kota formed COPE as a political party. So if you allowed COPE to exist, you might as well allow Umkhonto weSizwe to exist. And already the IEC has accepted Umkhonto weSizwe as a political party. So if you want to fight it out, then of course we have to be mindful of the fact that a precedent has been set. If you fail to deal with the precedent, then you might as well fail to deal with this one as well.
Sure. Prof, I suppose we're still going to be talking a lot more about this. There's just so much going on in the political developments ahead of next year. But let me thank you so much for your time this evening. That is Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, NMU, from the NMU Centre for the Advancement and Non-Racialism and Democracy. And we'll continue to really look at these political developments closely throughout the course of the days and see what they all mean then in the context of next year.